This is incredible. Thank you guys for being here. Okay, first things
What's
first.
going on? What's up, New York? Oh, it's a lot. It's all people. So can the church say amen?
Amen.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
Won't he do it? Okay, how many of y'all have seen this? First and foremost, make some noise. Law Roach's book, How to Build a Fashion Icon, available since October 1st, available everywhere now, so please cop this. But Law, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited. I'm always excited to be in a venue full of us because I feel like I'm in a safe space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wait, is this a safe space? So I can really talk my shit?
Yes. Yeah, okay, so that actually brings me to my first question, which is that you have done such a great job of, as you've elevated through the ranks of this industry, also keeping it down to earth. A lot of people, a lot of us, sometimes when we make it to these bigger rooms, we don't want to bring all of us with us.
Yeah.
But I feel you've done such a great job of showing up to CultureCon, showing up to Harlem Fashion Row, showing up to the black things, for lack of a better word, while also showing up at Paris Fashion Week. Has there ever been a time where you felt that you wanted to make yourself smaller or to not bring all of you in order to make it in the room?
Yeah, so I'll answer that in two parts. So when I first got to LA, I watched Rachel Zoe, and although I knew June Ambrose and I knew Misa, Rachel gave me a blueprint of what I wanted my career to look like. I wanted to sit front row at fashion shows in Paris and couture, and I wanted to be friends with the designers, and so she showed me that. So when I moved to LA, I thought I had to present like her. So, you know, I used to be like, oh my God, it's bananas. All that shit. And I was like, and it lasted for like literally 2 days. And I'm like, you are a boy from the streets of Chicago, south side of Chicago, and that is just not who you are. And so when I learned to be authentically myself is when I figured out that people enjoyed me more. And the second part of that question is when I started to work, and I tell this story all the time, I was working with, to us, icons, Brandy and Monica and Lala and Tamar Braxton, and I was making all this money, and I went to this agency to get signed, and they looked at the book, and they was, you know, and they kind of turned their nose up, and so what they made me feel like that the women who are important to our culture wasn't important to them. And so I called my manager at the time and I said, I can't work with black girls anymore. If I'm gonna have the trajectory and the career that I need to have, I just can't do it anymore. So I literally was working with these women. I was making about $10,000 a day, and I started making $750 a day to work with a white girl who was on a huge press tour for a huge movie. And, you know, now I'm in a place where I look at that and I regret it, but then I knew no other way, because what would have happened if they would have pigeonholed me, putting me in a box, and I don't think I would have ever been able to have the career that I had.
Well, let's clap to that, actually. Well, on that note, I'm gonna tell you a little story real quick because that makes me feel some type of way. I was at a fashion thing, I'm gonna keep this general, and I was talking to another fashion girl, right? And she was giving me criticism of you, and I wanna know what you say to critics who say, he wants to be in front of the camera too much. Being a stylist is a behind the scenes job. He wants to be famous. Let the famous person be the famous person. How do you respond to that idea that you're supposed to be in the back?
I just say, fuck you. See, the thing about whatever celebrity I have, it's a byproduct of the work. It's because I did good work for so long that people started to want to know who was behind the work. And every time you saw me on the carpet with Zendaya, it's because she reached out and told me to stand next to her, because that's what our loyalty and shows, and that's what I mean to her, that she invited me into those experiences every single time. And so then when I started to get notoriety, then, you know, it just became what it was. And one thing I learned about being public facing is that you get more opportunities and you make more money. And at the end game, the whole reason why we all work is to make the most amount of money, right? And so to the critics, really what it boils down to, and I'm gonna be very honest, is that when I went to LA, the landscape of the people who did the job that I do, they were all blonde hair, blue eyes, right? And they saw this ghetto ass boy from Chicago who barely spoke proper English to them, because I have a regional Anybody from Chicago? Right? Woo! And you know, we say shit different, we drop syllables, you know what I mean? And when I started to take all that with me, they used to like look at me like, oh my God, who is he? And they never thought that I would become who I became. And so then they were bothered by it. And then what really fucked them up was when my house got shot for Architectural Digest, they say, oh, and this little nigga living good. So they was really mad, you know what I mean? So, and so for me, it's like, I'll take all those bumps and bruises for everybody who wants to have an opportunity or have the opportunities that I've been able to have. I'm at a point in my life where I really don't care what the critics say. You know, people write nasty things about me all the time, but as long as I know that I've opened doors and I've left them open for people who look like me, it's the only thing that makes, gives me joy and makes me happy.
I mean, even the interview that we did together opened up so many doors for me. So, like, you paying that. How many of y'all saw the interview that I did with Law Roach? Raise your hand. That opened so many doors for me.
Yeah, I heard those subscriptions went up, too.
Yes, you did.
Which I love.
Yeah. Y'all ran it up. And honestly, you didn't have to do that. I mean, this was so last minute. Law had been in town the night before, and his agent reached out and was like, he's going to do this. He has this time to this time. And that was a huge door opener for me. I mean, even to this day, there's opportunities that have come since this spring, since we did that are truly just because you pulled up and sat down with me for 2 hours. We didn't know each other from a can of paint. So I also have to thank you for that dearly. We haven't seen each other since, but so, I mean, BOF, so many things have opened because of that interview.
Well, like, that makes me feel so happy because once I started to do this job, I said that my legacy had to be more than just putting pretty girls in pretty dresses. Like, I had to leave something else. And when we have a mutual friend, and he called me, he said, her subscriptions are going crazy. I said, yes. Because the biggest way that you can change somebody's life is to change their life financially, right? And so it's when people say, like, oh, you have an event, I'm going to come out, I'm going to support you. Like, people saying that to me, like, oh, I'm going to come support you, but if you're not buying a ticket, you're not supporting me. If you're not buying the book, you're not supporting me. You just showing up and being a face in the crowd is not support. And so I'm going to show up for Black people however and whenever I can.
Woo! I love that. And on that note, let's talk about the book. Because something I want to say real quick to Law's point just now, even if y'all don't even read the book, even if it sits on your shelf, y'all should read it. Go buy it. That's the only thing they understand in a lot of ways. You have to go purchase it, okay? Don't just pass through it. Don't just like it on Instagram as you scroll. Go buy it. How much is this?
$24.
$24, okay? Because there are still people, even though sometimes, I'm sorry, let me just talk my share real quick. Even though sometimes it seems like, oh, Law's doing good. Like, Law's up there. Like, he's at the Met Gala. He's front row at the shows. He's doing all the things. Within the industry, they mad. Like, they don't like it. And I can tell you this because I just had an experience where I was talking to, and she felt some type of way. So even though from our end it can look like Law made it, on the inside there's people who are still trying to make sure it doesn't happen, or they're still mad, or they like it when Rachel Zoe is the famous stylist. They feel some type of way about the Black boy from Chicago being famous. So I just want to say real quick, I'm plugging this for you, is like, buy it. When they see the numbers go up, when y'all run it up, that's what keeps him in that room.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, all they care about is the money.
Yeah.
So even though they don't understand our impact, they were like, why is this book selling out? God damn,
Yeah. And just to kind of piggyback on that, if you buy the book, that allows me to write a second book, and that allows any of you who want to be authors to get a book deal. Because what it is was once we get in a room and it's just like when they say that models couldn't sell the cover of magazines, or
Yep.
black movies could never sell tickets at the theater. Like, we have to keep proving these people wrong over and over and over again. And if we think about our ancestors, our dollars used to circulate in on our own communities before they left, right? And so we have to support each other. Like, if I'm selling a book and you selling some hair cream and you selling some body lotion and you selling whatever, we need to support each other. Even if you don't like the shit, buy it anyway.
Period.
Right? Because
Actually.
what the others understand is finances. And that's why they always have so much control over us, because they control the finances. And we have to start taking that back.
So,
Y'all can clap for that.
yeah. Y'all can clap for that. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the book, How to Build a Fashion Icon. You say this is not a memoir, correct? Why didn't you want to write a memoir, and what is this instead?
I didn't want to write a memoir. I got too many dirty secrets. And so I wrote the book when I retired, and it gave me so much time to reflect on so many things about myself. There were things that I loved about myself. There were things I didn't like about myself. And also, I wanted to be able to give something tangible and easy to help people. Because I've worked with so many people, Zendaya and Celine Dion and Kerry Washington and Meg Thee Stallion and, you know, everybody, Anne Hathaway and Anya Taylor-Joy and the City Girls and Lil Durk. You know, I could go on and on and on. And all those people have said one way or the other that what I was able to do was help them with confidence. And so I thought about it. I said, well, if I did that for them, if I can bottle this up and make it tangible and give it to, you know, everyday people, and hopefully they can learn something that can make their lives better and easier, then I want to do that. You know, I can write the memoir, you know, whenever. This felt more important to me.
So it's a kind of like a notes on confidence. Notes on confidence. That's what it says.
It's definitely a self-help book. So after every chapter, there's little exercises and calls to actions for you to actually do things that improves your confidence.
Have you ever felt, and I ask this because you seem to me and to so many people someone who naturally exudes confidence, and I do think there are people like that who are just born out the womb as kids and all the way into adulthood are just built with that natural born confidence. I feel similarly. But there was a time in my life where I lost my confidence, and for the first time in my life, I know this might sound hard for people to understand, or maybe you do. For the first time in my life, I felt empathy for people who don't have confidence, because I had never felt that feeling until my wings were clipped, and I was like, damn, I never knew what it was like to not have that like armor I had had my whole life. Have you ever felt that you didn't have that armor, you didn't have that confidence, and you were down in the dumps, and when you were that low, how did you get back up?
So it happened when I retired. So the retirement happened because, for two reasons. My career had got so big that I just felt like the only way to get bigger is to do more work. And I didn't want to do more work, right? And then when I actually retired, I was like, shit, who am I outside of being Law Roach, the stylist, Law Roach, the image architect? And I was very confused and lonely and sad and depressed that I thought that everything was going to be over for me. So that at that point, I lost my confidence. And helping me write the book helped me, you know, get my confidence back. Because it's like when you go to Paris, right, and you walk up to a show, and I hope anybody who has dreams of that gets to experience it, because it is amazing. But when you get to the point where you walk up to the show and people see you and they part the seat from you, like, oh, Mr. Law Roach, please come. And they walk you to the seat and all that, and you start to feel special, and you get used to all these things, right? That's really not that important, but they do feel good. And now all of a sudden I'm like, well, if I retire, you know, my phone's never going to ring again. Nobody's ever going to think I'm important. I have no purpose in life. So I started to grieve that part of me, and I was depressed. I was depressed for like 2 months, and I wouldn't leave my house, and it's just a lot of things. And then I started to write the book, and I was just like, okay, I started to remember what made me who I am. Where did I get the confidence from? I was absolutely born queer. Like, I've always been a really feminine boy, and my last name is Roach. So imagine being 6 years old, going to kindergarten, standing up in front of the class, and they're like, what's your name? And I'm like, Lawrence Roach. And they're like, Gay Roach. Ah! You know what I mean? Like, you have to build thick skin. Like, it made me tough. And because I had to go through that every year. And then after a while, my grandfather said, they'll never forget you. They'll never forget your name. They'll never forget the sound of your voice. And so that's where the confidence came from as a early child. Just, we've all been bullied and laughed at. And it's something that could really have tore me down and ripped me to pieces, made me stronger. And that's what I was able to give to my clients, because, thank you. And because it was never about how I made them look, it was always about how I made them feel.
Well, since you've been back in the game, so the retirement was like 2 years ago, right?
It was a year and some months, yeah.
It seems to me, and I say this only as someone who's observing you from the other side of the screen, it seems like you're having so much more fun with it, though. Like, it seems like you truly don't give a fuck. Is that accurate to say, since before and after?
It is accurate.
Yeah.
I want to thank y'all for not laughing when I said Gay Roach, but that shit is funny as hell. But so the purpose of the book is to get to the ultimate level of confidence. And for me, the ultimate level of confidence is saying, fuck you.
Period.
I don't give a fuck about what you say about me. Fuck you, I don't give a fuck about what you think about what I'm wearing. I'm gonna wear what I wanna wear because I wanna wear it. And that's the ultimate level. And when you reach that, if you think about it, our elders, right? You think about your 80-year-old grandmother, she don't give a fuck, right? And that is a whole different type of confidence. And so the book is a guide to help you get as close to that as possible. And that's the way I am in my life right now. I'm like, people could say what they want to say about me. They could say I'm a diva, I'm hard to deal with, I'm hard to work with, I'm nasty, I'm, so nasty, so rude, like all those things. And, I just really don't give a fuck, because I know every day I wake up happy, and I try to lead with joy and love. And the people who get a chance to be around me, they understand that, and they see that, and they benefit from that. Because I've given a lot of people careers, right, that you'll never know about. I started a lot of people's careers and changed a lot of people's lives, and I've done that not to talk about it, but just because it made me feel good. And when my time is over, at my funeral, I hope those people get up and say what a positive person I was and influence in their lives. And that's the way I lead my life. Everything else, I just really don't give a fuck.
So you are aware that you're going down in history, right?
What? That I don't give a fuck?
Well, no, I'm saying as a stylist, as an image architect, your whole being for the fashion industry and beyond, obviously. But you are aware that you are going to go down in history.
And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
I'm actually grateful for that, because when I started, again, I was looking at a white woman as the blueprint, because I didn't exist. Nobody liked me exist. And now I can see the landscape of the business changing. You have people like Jason Bolden, who is incredible. You have Micah and Wayman that are incredible. You have Colin Carter, who is one of my fashion children, that's doing things and took Cardi from Love and Hip Hop to the cover of Vogue. Like, you have things that, like, now people have a reference point, and they also have a reference point to make more money. Because one thing about me, people can call me and be like, okay, you just did such and such, how much money did you make? And I'll tell them, I say, well, I made this, ask for more. Because that's the way we should be. It don't hurt us. It's not gonna hurt you to be honest with the next person, because they have all the money, and we still fighting for crumbs. You know what I mean? So if I know that they have an X amount of money, I'm gonna tell the next person so that they can get more. And if it comes back to me, I'm gonna get more. And then if it goes to the next person, they're gonna get more. Because at the end of the day, we can't change our lives if we can't change our lives financially.
Are you looking to or maybe a better way to ask this is, I've heard people say that being a stylist is not a scalable business, meaning like how many people can you dress? How do you scale that? It doesn't seem like you're looking to scale your business as far as how many clients you have, correct?
No, because what people don't understand, and I'm really proud to say this, I had a global 24/7 business. I had 4 assistants in LA, 2 in New York, 1 in Paris, and 1 in London. So I woke up every morning at 3 a.m. when Europe woke up, and I ran a multi-million-dollar business for the last 5-6 years.
Um, a
Yeah.
multi-million-dollar
A
business.
multi-million-dollar business. Yes, and I paid millions of dollars in taxes. But yeah, so I had a huge business. But the thing about what I said earlier is that my business just couldn't get any bigger unless I just did more work. And so that's why I wanted to step away and try new things. Like I just opened, I'm very proud of this. My agent and I bought a platform called School of Style. So if there's anybody out there that wants to be stylist, we started an online digital platform called School of Style, which teaches collegiate level lessons on how to be a stylist and how to, you know, it's basically built off my infrastructure, kind of, right? So the first course is Introduction to Image Architecture. So it's built on the way I did my business. And the great thing about it is because there's a lot of online educational platforms, right? And you can take them all, but they can't promise you a job. So because my agent is the owner of the only agency who has offices in Paris, in London and New York and LA and Nashville, and we're actually going global, even more global, you can shrink in the gap between your dream and your reality. Meaning you take the class, you get certified, and you move into being represented by an agency right away.
I like that.
Yeah.
You guys, I just want to say that, Law, we're so happy to have you here. Please don't forget how to...
Oh wait, we're gonna take questions from the audience.
Oh, are we?
We have to. We have to.
Okay.
We have to.
Period, that's true.
We have to.
Does anybody have a question? Right here, stand up. You're gonna have to shout and be quick, because they got us on a timer. She said, what do you want to say for people who want to just do whatever the fuck they want to do? Do you have advice?
Do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Okay, we need a more pointed question. Quick. Right here, you in the denim. Quick, loud. One more time?
Wait, we got mics.
We got a mic.
Because this is the important part to me.
It is.
I have to be able to talk to the people.
Uh-oh, it's not on. Woo, thank you. How did you know what to get?
Well, she wasn't my first client. My first client was K. Michelle. A lot of people didn't know that. Yeah, but that was my first client. So I lied a lot, actually. So I was a bartender in Chicago, and I was going to New York a lot, and I was meeting people, and they would say, well, what are you? And I'm like, I'm a stylist. And they would say, are you local? And at that point, I didn't know what that meant. But local means that you actually live in the city that you're in.
Yeah,
so I went to T-Mobile. I got a 646 area code. And I started to lie and tell people that I was a stylist and I lived in New York. And so Sherry from Atlantic Records, and she went on to Rockefeller, well, not Rockefeller, but Rock Nation. She gave me my first job, and it was with K. Michelle.
Okay, we have one more over here.
Hello.
Hi.
So in your book, you talk about like your admiration for drag queens and for your time with Legendary. I had a question about like how you found. Ooh, excuse me.
You gotta be quick.
Okay, boundary setting. How you really found your cut as far as like balancing your career progress and like being able to push back on the industry's expectations of you.
Oh shit, I didn't really hear you. Say it again.
Okay. Sorry. How did you set boundaries? How did you push back on the industry's expectations of you to really assert your own agency and building the life that you wanted for yourself?
Um, you you just have to stand strong in your shit, right? It's like so many people are going to try to minimize you, right, and keep you small, right? And I just knew that when I came into the industry, that I just didn't want to be small. I wanted to be better than everybody else, right? And that's what I worked towards, you know. Like just to write some of the credentials down, right? So every year the Hollywood Reporter does the 25 most powerful stylists. I was the first black stylist to be on the cover of that magazine. And then in 2021 and 22, I was the first stylist to be named the #1 most powerful stylist in Hollywood. And then the first stylist to get that recognition 2 years in a row, right? So I came in knowing that I wanted to be better than everybody else. And so that's the way I held autonomy over my career, is that I always knew that I wanted to be better.
You just have to have standards and not let up. I mean, I feel like there's no easy way.
No fear. There's no fear.
There's no way around that.
Couple more questions.
Next question. There's a queue, but we won't be able to get to everybody. But I mean, let's try.
I'll stay here all day.
Hello, thank you so much for taking the time and coming to a place like this to inspire young people who want to create culture. At a certain point in your career, you stopped styling black girls, and this kind of helped you get into other rooms and like get in these rooms and become a fashion legend. What do you say to up-and-coming stylists? Like, do you think they might have to make those same decisions, or what do you say to up-and-coming people?
Well, I think now, hopefully, people can use me as a reference point. Because once I had got further enough in my career, I remember my agent called and he said, "Oh, somebody called from Atlantic and they wanted you to style the City Girls." And I'm like, and at the time I was doing Ariana Grande. I had done Ariana and Celine and all these other people. I said, I was like, and what did you tell them? I told them no. I said, who the fuck are you to tell somebody that's important to my culture no? And so I went and I did the City Girls, and I did their first magazine cover. They were on the cover of Billboard magazines, and I did Flued Out, and I did, I did like 2 or 3 other videos for them. But I hope that I can be the reference point to say that you can do it all and you can do everything, and that you won't be put in a box, right? But you also have to still fight and advocate for yourself. If you get to the point where you have an agent, you have to tell your agent that I'm capable of doing everything. Just like black hairstylists, and correct me if I'm wrong, black hairstylists just can't do black hair. They have to be able to do white hair, Asian hair, they have to do everything. But the white hairstylists they only have to be able to do white hair, right? We always have to be 10 times better than the other people, right? And then we have to let people know that. Because you just had Joara, who does everything and every type of hair and is right.
Period. To everybody who's walking out, how to build a fashion icon is available everywhere. Don't forget to cop it.
It's a lot of people here. I need y'all to buy a lot of books.
Don't forget. But yes, it's true. So you saw my interview with Joara. Yeah, I mean, it's just is what it is.
But for the argument, the big problem in fashion culture is that models used to go to the white stylists and they didn't know how to do their hair because they didn't have to know how to do their hair. Because that goes back to this thing called white privilege, where you really don't have to know how to do anything but what you want to know how to do. That we don't get the same type of privilege.
No. Okay, let's do another one.
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you again, both of you, for coming. And I'm Crystal. I run For All Bodies. It's an inclusive fashion organization. The reason I say this is because going to these fashion events, I notice there's a lack of diversity when it comes to size and height. So with you going to Paris and running those, front seats, what do you think it's going to take to have those changes implemented, because the average size woman is, above the size 2s?
Well, we saw the change when, the fashion industry was forced to be inclusive. But the only real answer to that is the consumers. The consumers has to hold the brands, liable for if they don't make your size, don't buy the clothes. It is what it is, right? But the fashion industry works in trends, and if you saw 2-3 years ago, there would be 10 plus size girls on a runway, and now you see the same two that it's always been. But that's up to the consumer. That's up to the consumer.
And I will add on to that and say that there are things that are changing, even though we can't necessarily see them from the outside. It takes time for things to change, but there are meetings being had at the top level of companies. It's like same way people feel about, vegan leather or whatever the case. It might not be the standard yet, but there are things that are happening in the background that will eventually become more and more consumer facing, I think.
Thank you.
That's it. Okay, we got cut off.
Damn. You? Y'all, the babies. Okay. All right. So
Okay.
I guess I'm signing books. So I
Thank
can
you
answer more
guys so
questions.
much for coming here. A round of applause for Law Roach.